Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything. Channel likes Try Anything, so you don't have to. As you can see from the screen behind me, today we are featuring the Casio A-100 watch, which has a module number of 3503. Now the Casio A-100, just to give you a little bit of a background, is a watch that is kind of a homage watch to the Casio F-100 that I'm just featuring here. Now what makes the F-100 stand out is two reasons really. The first one being it was the first watch that Casio put a digital module in a resin case, and the second reason for mentioning the Casio F-100 is that it is featured in a film called Alien, which you may have heard of, which is an 80s kind of sci-fi horror type film, and it was worn by a character called Ripley, who won like a double version of the F-100, which was on like a bracelet looking very sci-fi and stuff. And this watch here, the A-100, is very much a modernization of the Casio F-100. So in this review, what I'll do, I'll take a look around the Casio A-100. I'll talk about the materials used just to give you an idea, including the sizes so you can see what it's like on your wrist. I'll also talk about some of the features, the design of the watch, and then what I'm going to do is pop it on my wrist and say what it's like to wear, and then give you my final thoughts at the end of the video. So why don't we jump in and look a little closer at the A-100, as you can see here. Now first of all, what I will say, when you do take it out of the watch box, or the Casio vintage watch box that comes with this watch, it is a little bit on the small side, so just be aware of that fact. But what I'll do is I'll just put this watch over to the left hand side and I'll just point out just the dimensions that I've just listed out to the right, just to give you a better idea of whether this watch is for you and your wrists. So first of all, case width, you are looking at a very wrist friendly 33mm to the left and to the right. Lug to lug, you are looking at approximately 41mm from the top of the case to the bottom, and inner lug width, if I just turn the watch around, you are looking at 18mm from there to there, and the depth of the watch, you are looking at 9mm. Top of strap, you are looking at around 74mm, just from, I've measured just from there to where it just meets the case. The bottom strap, you are looking at approximately 135mm in all, again from there to there, and where it flares out, you are looking at about 20mm there to there, which is 16mm, and the same there is 20mm where it flares out there to about 16mm there. Now, talking about the strap, I might as well just say that it is a resin based strap, so it's a black resin strap, and it is quite smooth on the outer, which feels quite nice. I gotta admit, it does feel nice on the touch. And on the inside part of the strap, you do have these kind of little extrusions that frame the strap inside, and there is quite a few areas for adjustment on the actual strap. As you can see here, there is quite a few holes, and my wrist tends to go about the second or the third, so it will suit a bigger wrist. But the only thing I will say is with them dimensions in mind, it may look a little lost on a lot of bigger wrists. Now moving on to the case, it is a chrome paint on resin plastic, and that means that it may be a bit more susceptible to scratches, so just bear that in mind if you are thinking about a watch with this type of paint on there. And as I mentioned, it may pick up the odd scratch, as may the display window, which again is made up of acrylic resin, so that may pick it up as well. But Polywatch is your friend, you can get rid of a bit of that. The other thing to mention, you do have a like it's plastic on the front, as is the pushers that you can see to the front of this watch, because they're not on the side, they are on the front, and it is again that kind of polished metal paint on resin as well. But in terms of fit and finish, it's okay. It's not amazing, but it is okay. And if you want something a bit more substantial, then I'm just showing you a few other examples of this watch where you can get obviously like a different colored casing, or the polished effect case that I've got here with a metal strap bracelet, or a leather. You can even get a leather strap for this, but I have seen a few reviews with the leather strap and it's not the best, I've got to be honest with you. So you may be worth maybe plumping for this resin one, or what'll be a metal bracelet. So with the materials out of the way, let's talk a little bit more about the design. First of all, it goes without saying that the buttons on the front of this watch is what makes it one of the more unique retro style digital watches that I have featured on the channel. I can see the homage to the F-100 in the overall design of the watch, and it does bring it more into the modern day in terms of the actual chrome casing and the resin strap that we've got featured in this video. I'll also add that while I've mentioned the materials are okay, when you do first take it out the watch box, you do, I don't know if it's a bit of a magpie effect where you're attracted to shiny things, but it did make it really stand out in terms of looking forward to putting it on the wrist and just seeing how it all shines and glistens in various lights. So it does have that aspect about it. I like how the polished chrome effect paint contrasts with the resin strap and also with the black elements that you can see on the front of the actual watch itself. It really does stand out in terms of the overall look of the watch. Now at first I did believe that the decals were a little bit hard to see, but on second inspection I don't mind it really. And obviously the decals mention how it displays the date, the minutes, the seconds, and the tenth of a second in the stopwatch, and then obviously the hours, the minutes, and the seconds on the digital display. So it does have its function, and it does follow the F-100 faithfully in terms of that. And also just below here, it follows the F-100 in terms of the front facing pushers, and obviously these little decals going on there. Now if you wanted to know, the front facing pushers do operate various aspects of the watch, but on the back it does indicate on the what would be the stainless steel clip-on case back what each of the buttons do actually do. In terms of the display, it's very simple. I mean, it does follow the, again I'm going to mention it, the F-100 in terms of what it can do, but it is simple in terms of you've just got the indication of an afternoon hour, you've got the hours, you've got the minutes, and you've got the seconds, and obviously when you've got the alarms indicated, i.e. the daily alarm, hourly signal, etc. But interestingly, it doesn't have the option to choose between 12 or 24-hour formats. The other thing that some people may find the display, I mean, you can read it at a distance, they may find the display, if you've got deteriorating eyesight, in terms of will you be able to read the time? I mean, I can just about, but the actual what would be the numerals here, they're not the biggest out there, and I do understand it does follow faithfully with the F-100 Casio watch, but you just got to think of, I'm just looking at it on a practical basis, and yeah, I can read it from there, to be honest. And when I do take my glasses off, which I'm just currently doing, they are a little bit blurred, but you can just make out the time. The overall design aesthetic I really do enjoy looking at, and obviously with the buttons facing the front for once as opposed to the side, they really do give it that unique retro look about it. Now also what we're going to do is I'm going to jump onto about the backlight. The backlight is operated, I'm just pressing there, you can see the little single amber LED just to the right hand side of the display, and I'm just showing you what it looks like in darkness and semi-darkness, and it's okay, you can read the time. But the only one thing I did notice is just to the left of the watch, it just seems to be a bit of a darkened area. I don't know if that's just this particular one that I've got here or if it is common to a lot of the A100s. And the other thing it does have is that 1.5 second delay, or what's known as by Casio as the afterglow. So again, it's okay in terms of being able to read the time during the night. And finally, let's talk about the button operation. Now obviously these are quite smallish buttons and they can be quite fiddly in terms of pressing it. Now it's a bit easier, I've got to be honest with you, with it being on the wrist, and it is something you have to get used to. But while you can't just see the date and time, or what would be the days on the main display, you can just press that button down there to operate what would be the date, and top right hand corner is the backlight, and obviously you can press this button here to see the modes that this watch has got, which is just only a couple of them really. I mean, you've got a daily alarm with hourly signal as well. If you want to just alternate between the two, you can easily do that. You have a stopwatch which goes up to what would be 60 minutes in terms of elapsed time, and it counts it in a tenth of a second as opposed to the usual 100th. But you can't do what would be a lap time, and I did find that quite strange as well. But it is just literally stop, start, and then reset in terms of operating the stopwatch. And then obviously you can just go through the modes and then change the time as you so wish. And that's the functions of the watch. In terms of the features of the watch, you've got a 3-year battery life from brand new, and accuracy you're looking at about plus or minus 30 seconds accuracy per month from that quartz module that's built into this watch. It is splash resistant, so it's not really water resistant. It features an auto calendar which once set will take into account leap years and stuff like that, so it is quite handy in that aspect. So those are some of the features of this watch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it on my wrist and say what the Casio A-100 is like to wear. Now here it is on the wrist, and as you would expect, it is quite a smallish watch overall from them sizes that I mentioned earlier. But I've got to admit, on my 6.5 inch wrist, it goes without saying, because as it's not a very wide watch, it's more taller than it is wide, you get zero hand inhibition. There's just nothing, you just don't feel this watch being on here. And as I mentioned, with it being quite a gravity defying in terms of weight, you forget you're wearing it, to be honest. And I just think it is a very, very comfortable watch to wear on the wrist. But overall, I've got to say, on the wrist, it really does stand out. I mean, that polished chrome paint on resin looks it just really does make the watch stand out in terms of a retro industrial feel to it. It is a very, very nice watch to look at on your wrist and being able to tell the time. So what are my thoughts on this Casio A-100? I'm gonna be honest with you, when I got it out of the box, and this is the kind of box that you get with the Casio, it's like a Casio vintage box. It's hard for me to say. It was a bit of a, oh right, okay, is that it really, in terms of getting the watch out of the box? It was just something that I don't know, I was expecting a little bit more, and for the £23 mark, I've got to be honest with you, it was okay in terms of just handling it at first, and then I put it back in the watch box and took it out later and then started to write the review on it. I've grown to like it as I've more and more had more hands-on time, more wrist time, etc. And I've worn this over a couple of days, and I've got to say, it's a watch that's really grown on me. Now, would I daily drive this watch? I don't think I would, and I'll be honest with you, the only reason being with the polished chrome on resin, I'm just a bit worried it would scratch, and that's the first time I've ever had that sort of feeling with the watch, because a lot of the Casios just wear them, don't care, I enjoy them, and they are what they are really, which is a very affordable type of watch. With this one, because it's nice and blingy and it catches the light really well, I'd just be a little bit worried. Now, the only time I would wear it maybe on over a couple of days, over a week or whatever, is when I know it's under like a hoodie, just protecting it. But that'd be the only reason why I'd kind of wear it more on a daily basis over a shorter period of time. For me, I see this more as an occasional wear type of watch, and it is kind of like another reviewer said, it's like a fun type of watch, and it is, because it is a homage to that all resin watch which had the buttons on the front, which is the F-100 Casio, featured in the Alien film, worn by Ripley, as I mentioned at the start of the video. So what would I suggest to you? Is it something that you should buy? I would say it depends on what your use case is and what your expectations are. Manage your expectations in terms of what you're looking to get, and make sure, if it's not the watch for you, that you can return it, because I don't know, again, it's one of them watches, it just depends on what you want, in terms of if you want a collector's piece, if you want a watch that you can wear on occasion, and if it's like a daily driven watch, then you're going to make sure you do protect it. So that's what I think. It's okay. So I've provided links to it in the description box below in terms of Amazon affiliate links, so you can go off and have a look and see what other people have written about it. So that's my thoughts on this Casio A-100, and I hope this video in some way or another has helped you. And I'm sorry, it's a bit like kind of, I'm not sure, there's no definitive in terms of recommending it, and I hope this video is of some use to you, and if it was, then please click on the thumbs up icon. It always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, then please click on the subscription button below, and thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.